In the summer of 1980, I walked down the aisle at the Brighton United Methodist Church in Southwest Missouri and accepted Jesus Christ as my personal Savior. From that day until this day, until the day I die, I'll never regret that decision. However, I am concerned with many in my religion who are manipulating the truth to forward a specific political ideology. Hi everybody, my name's Will, your favorite rural campaign and elections expert, and let's talk about it. Just up the road from me here in Southwest Missouri, in the city of Rolla, a far-right extremist city councilman named Josh Roman is trying to forward the agenda of a far-right Christian nationalist organization in Texas called Sanctuary Cities for the Unborn. And last night in the city of Rolla, the city council there met to determine whether or not they would move forward with creating an ordinance to codify this far-right extreme legislation into city code. Now, before I make my next point, I want to really commend the mayor of the city of Rolla, a few city council members there, and the city attorney, who very obviously put in a great amount of work to research this issue, to understand it, and to come to that meeting prepared. It was very evident in how they spoke and in the agenda that they forwarded that they care about the citizens of Rolla, and they had done their research in regard to this issue. However, none of that mattered to far-right city councilman Josh Roman. At the beginning of the meeting, Josh Roman stated that he was simply trying to pass an ordinance that puts Rolla city law in line with the National Comstock Act. He had interpreted the Comstock Act to mean that in the state of Missouri, you could not mail through the Federal Mail Service any type of morning after pill or reproductive rights medication. He was concerned that the state of Missouri had not addressed this in the Amendment 3 legislation that was passed by voters last year, which allowed women the right to abortion in our state. Now, the first thing I'd like all of you to do is watch the recording of the city council meeting last night in Rolla, Missouri, when the mayor and other members of the city council specifically asked far-right councilman Josh Roman, what wrong are we trying to right here, or what are we trying to fix? There was literally a multi-minute pause, and the councilman could not answer the question. Finally, after an embarrassingly long period of silence, he looked at the mayor, pointed out to the crowd where representatives from Sanctuary Cities for the Unborn were sitting, and asked if one of them could step up to the podium to answer the question for him. Ridiculous. And the mayor called bullshit right away. Next, the mayor made a key point that the ACLU has already stepped up to the plate to say, if you advance this idiocy, we're going to be standing here to fight against you. That means multiple lawsuits, and that means a significant amount of money. Next, the city attorney stepped up and made his case. And I can tell you from listening to him, if I had to guess, I think he's actually a pro-life person. But he made the argument that the Comstock Act only applies when this medication is being sent to a state where that medication is illegal. And Amendment 3, which was passed last year in the state of Missouri, doesn't address the medication. And in that case, the Comstock Act would not apply. The mayor and the city attorney also got far-right city councilman Josh Roman to admit the way this law would be enforced is by the citizens of Rolla. I want you to take a minute to imagine this scenario. You're a woman living in the city of Rolla, and your doctor, based on a conversation with you about what's best for your health, makes a decision to assign you one of these drugs, fills out a prescription, sends it in, and you receive this medication in the mail. And just imagine any neighbor of yours, anybody in the city of Rolla, any religious zealot, or maybe a far-right city councilman, could try to find out what medications you're taking. Maybe they have the pharmacy spy on people and report to them what medications are being used. There are all kinds of nefarious things that could happen here that would allow people to learn about the private health care and the private health care decisions of women in the city of Rolla. Your neighbor could then take that information and file a lawsuit against you saying that you have violated the city ordinance. This is what Sanctuary Cities for the Unborn is trying to accomplish in the city of Rolla. There's something else really crazy that could happen here. Sanctuary Cities for the Unborn have said in the past that if these laws are passed, they would apply to all of the roads that pass through the city as well. So imagine you're a woman somewhere in the state of Missouri who received a prescription from your doctor, and maybe you want to leave, let's say, Springfield to travel to St. Louis so that your local pharmacist doesn't know what you're doing. You might travel down Interstate 44. You might pass through the city limits of Rolla, Missouri. And by doing that, you would be subject to the Rolla law. Just imagine that. Anybody traveling on the 3 major highways that go through Rolla or any of the smaller roads that exist in the county could be subject to the law simply because they drove through the city of Rolla? Finally, after being asked over and over and over again to tell us what problem we're trying to solve here, Josh Roman just threw his hands up in despair and kept repeating over and over again, we're trying to balance federal law with local law, even after the city attorney had made the case over and over again to Councilman Vroman, who's not an attorney, that just simply didn't apply in this case. There's also another important lesson that I think Republicans and Democrats can both learn from last night's meeting. It wasn't just pro-choice people disagreeing with this legislation. There were at least 2 and possibly 3 pro-life individuals on the council who disagreed with this legislation as well. After the council discussion was over, it was time for public comments. And this is the part I really want to address. This is where the 2 individuals representing the Christian nationalist organization, Sanctuary Cities for the Unborn, and Josh Vroman really made me angry as a Christian. All throughout the meeting, they tried to deny that their effort is to deny women the rights that were put in place by the passage of Amendment 3 in the state of Missouri last year. The point was made over and over again. When the 2 representatives from the far-right Christian nationalist organization, Sanctuary Cities for the Unborn, got up to speak, you could hear the serpent's tongue hissing from miles away. With the eloquence of a rattlesnake preacher in the hills of Tennessee, they made the argument that we're just here to help you do the right thing. We don't have an agenda. We're not here to push any specific agenda to get you to do something you don't want to do. We're just here to help you help yourselves. This is one thing farmers and ranchers and women have in common. How many times have we heard that pitch? One of the representatives from this far-right organization who tried to misrepresent himself as a legal expert or an attorney finally had to admit that he was neither on the topic. Now let me show you why I'm angry about them trying to misrepresent the truth and represent themselves as Christians. What I'm about to show you is truly disgusting. Take a look at the website for Sanctuary Cities for the Unborn. Right on their website at the top right, they say, protecting our cities by outlawing abortion 1 city at a time. Right on their website, they admit that they're trying to do what they promised the city of Rolla, the citizens of Rolla, and the city council of Rolla they're not trying to do last night. Here's what really angers me as a Christian. Check out what it says on their website. Sanctuary Cities for the Unborn ordinances, which do not explicitly outlaw abortion, but are considered de facto abortion bans since the ordinances result in the same effect. That's right. They're going around claiming that the wording of these laws doesn't ban abortion, yet they admit on their website that that's not only their goal, but that's the direct result of these ordinances when they're passed. And finally, if your stomach already isn't churning as a Christian at their lies, check out what they say here. Abortion trafficking ordinances make it unlawful for any person to knowingly transport an individual for the purpose of providing or obtaining an elective AB. Imagine that. Sanctuary Cities for the Unborn would treat any woman in the city of Rolla who's simply seeking reproductive health care and has a prescription for her doctor the same way they would cheat or treat a child trafficker? That's ridiculous. Labeling women receiving medical care that their doctor has provided to them as traffickers is an affront to women, America, and the rule of law. The decision was finally made at last night's meeting to kick the can down the road to the January council meeting. If you're interested in getting involved to stop this in the city of Rolla, join us here at the Back 40. Join our Discord and get involved in the fight against this idiocy. Hey everybody, my name's Will. That's the news from the Back 40, and I hope you have a great night.